Hello, I'm Simon.
And I'm Dan.
And this is the Wikicast, a podcast where Wikipedia takes us to a random article each week and we talk about what we find. Daniel, what are we talking about this week?
This week, Simon, we are talking about the white-spotted toadfish.
Oh, okay. But we should possibly, before we even get into this, because it sounds like, that does sound like an interesting article, to be fair, there is something which we should address, which is, about a month ago now, we said we're back on weekly episodes. And it is, I don't actually want to check, how long has it been since our last, it's been 3 weeks since our last
it's been nearly a month.
Now,
the irony
the thing is
awful.
We did do, we had a scheduled episode ready to go the next week, but you then came down with a horrible vomiting bug, wasn't it? It was something going around the cathedral. It was.
Well, I wouldn't quite go into that much detail about it, Simon, but let's just let all the listeners into our... Well, yeah, let's put it like that. Yeah, I wasn't feeling tip-top.
And then the following week, we recorded an episode, but I lost my file. It is, in Adam's words, not my words, but in Adam's words, the rare occasion where an episode is missed, where it was entirely Simon's fault. And I've got to own that.
The most frustrating thing is it was a really excellent episode.
It honestly
was. Interesting thing. It was brilliant. Anyway, that's gone now.
It was a cracking episode and it's lost to the sands of time.
So you're now stuck with this one.
And it would have been an episode last week, but then we had to reschedule another bunch of stuff because Dan's such a busy boy at university. It was singing stuff specifically, wasn't it?
Well, it's not even. It wasn't even that. Well, this is the weird backward crazy thing about it. I'm still doing things with the university. Having graduated, I've gone back to conduct ex-university singers, which regular readers of the podcast will know because I plug them all the time. But it's our 50th anniversary as a society, which is very exciting. But I've managed to go back. I'm a graduate, so there is a connection there. Yeah. But I'm not a current student. But it's fine. I'm doing that anyway. I had some auditions to do, and we now have the full choir. It's extremely exciting. But it's a combination of that and work becoming so ludicrously busy. And anyway, it was a diary nightmare. Things had gone awfully wrong.
And then we were meant to record later last week. And then I was stranded somewhere because I was meant to be coming home and the trains weren't working. It's literally been a perfect storm, having promised that we would get back to weekly episodes, which we fully intended on it. So that is our deepest apologies for that. But with that grovelling done and out the way, Dan, what are we do? The lesser spotted toadfish? What was it?
The white-spotted toadfish.
Sorry, beg your pardon.
Now, it's really interesting that you described this article as really interesting.
Well, it sounds interesting.
It does sound interesting, doesn't it? And I think it's one of these infinite universe things here that we are being punished by having a fascinating episode last week and then the audio having been lost. I'm going to read you now the entire article of the white-spotted toadfish.
I'm going to sit down. Hang on.
You know what? So I wouldn't bother.
Right, go for it.
And you'll see why. Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia.
Oh boy, he's doing the whole thing. Okay.
White-spotted toadfish. From Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. The white-spotted toadfish, Sonopus astropher, is a species of fish in the Brachychordia... Oh golly, this is Batrachoididae family. It is endemic to Belize. That is the entire article.
That's it? That is...
I'm
coming back to the microphone. That is all they had to say?
There are two references, which I'm not going to talk about because it's just lots of numbers. The white-spotted toadfish is a species of fish from a certain family. It's endemic to a certain place. That is the entire article.
I mean, to be fair, that is, I suppose if you're an alien... imagine if you'd landed on an alien world and you saw an alien creature, you would want to know, where does it fit into your structure of knowledge and where does it live? I suppose that is they've got the basics down, but Jesus Christ.
Well, I suppose.
What was it? White-spotted toadfish. There must be something else on the internet for this. We might actually have to go beyond Wikipedia in order to find something interesting.
It's endemic to I'm going to go with Belize.
It is an ugly mother. I've just seen a picture of it. oh boy. That's
so Belize was formerly British Honduras.
Yep.
It's an independent and sovereign country located on the northeastern coast of Central America. It's bordered on the northwest by Mexico and on the east by the Caribbean Sea.
I'm going to send you a picture on Discord, Dan, of
the
white-spotted toadfish. And dear listeners at home, I encourage you to Google what this thing looks like.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's how would you describe that, Dan?
Oh, so if you, in a bowl, I want you to pour at least 15 Oreos, as in the chocolate cream cookie.
Mm-hmm.
I then want you to mash them up as much as you can. This will give the desired effect of mimicking this particular fish's appearance.
Its eyes look like buttholes as well.
You just need to take 2... Well, I was going to go with blueberries, but okay, there are 2 people in this life. You need to take 2 blueberries, put the blueberries in said bowl of macerated Oreos, and then draw a little line for its mouth, and that's it. You've got the fish.
I mean, they're radiated.
It has got a beard.
It does have a beard, is the other thing. It looks like a sea anemone is living underneath its chin. There's also other species. There's actually quite a lot of pictures of the white-spotted toadfish, but there's also the splendid toadfish. I've never heard of toadfish before. This one is new to me. So, hang on, toadfish are also called frogfish because they look like frogs. They are benthic ambush predators. Benthic. Do you know what benthic means?
No. Well, no, I don't.
I had to admit, I did not get this either. It is the ecological region, the benthic zone, this is the ecological region at the lowest level of a body of water. So that could be an ocean, lake, or just a stream. So actually in the substrate. So stuff that's living on the sea floor. But, that's quite a... That could be 30 centimetres down or literally, 10 kilometres down? Wow. That is a new term to me. I like that. They are ugly fish, though. Jesus Christ. I can now see perhaps why they didn't want to write any more about it. They just threw up in their mouths a little bit when trying to write about it. All toadfish, Dan, I'm happy to reveal, possess sharp spines on the first dorsal fin and on their opercle, which is the technical name for the gill cover on a fish, which I didn't know. An opercle.
Opercle. What a good word.
Yeah, OPERCLE.
If you had eyes on the cover to your gills, would they be your optical opercles?
If they were particularly bulbous, they'd be your oogly opticals on your opercle. Damn it.
Very nice.
Oogly opticals on your opercles.
Yeah, it's brilliant. We're back.
Quality content, everyone. Have you missed us?
Brilliant.
So, I mean, it has been, with singers, we've got naff all to talk about in the actual article. How has it been, Dan? We should point out, by the way, this is like the podcast is the only time that we genuinely just chat to each other. So
yeah,
take a back seat, everyone. Just talk amongst yourselves. Dan, how's it been?
Folk need to go and find their beverage of choice. It might be an alcoholic beverage. It might be a coffee, a tea.
Ooh.
Who knows? Settle down, and you're going to now listen to 2 friends catch up, because that's basically what this podcast is.
Basically,
that is literally what it is. Look, I'd say things have been quite good. Work has been quite busy. The auditions that we've had, I think we've had the most auditions ex-university singers have ever had, and I think the quality and the standard of those auditions has been ludicrously high, which has made the kind of the final lineup decision making incredibly hard. I have at least 4 emails, and bearing in mind we announced the new choir this morning, we gave the option to people that if for whatever reason they weren't successful in gaining a place, they could email either Matt or myself, being the 2 conductors. They could email us asking for feedback, and we'd have a chat with them. So I have 4 emails to respond at some point this evening to talk about why they didn't get in, which is it's not a particularly nice email to write, but I'm trying to do it in a
very, very useful thing to do. You don't have to do that,
so.
But that is very, very valuable for a singer to say, this is what, because you don't know. A lot of the time you're in an interview or an audition, and you genuinely don't know, how it went. It's like you have a kind of blindness. Actually, that means, before I forget, On similar subject, congratulations to Alex, who's come on the show before, friend of mine. We did Tough Mudder together recently. He just passed his Viva, so if you're listening to this, Dr. Lathbridge, congratulations. He messaged me and said, like it was like pulling teeth. The lit review got shredded, but everything else was fine. Then I was like, but did you forget a basic piece of theory? Because it's not a true Viva unless you forget a basic piece of theory. And he just responded with all caps, yes. Every piece of undergrad biochem. Everyone does it. Everyone forgets the basics. And you have no idea in the Viva how you're doing. So you've just got to, keep on going. But
well, congratulations to him. I hope he's celebrating in a suitably mental fashion.
He said that I saw on Twitter that the night after his Viva, he couldn't sleep because he was still so high on adrenaline. So he was just playing City Skylines, was buzzed.
That's brilliant. What a choice. That's exactly what I'd do, I think.
Yeah, pretty sure it would be. Well, how's the job at the cathedral going? Because, this has been the first month that you've been in the job now?
Yes, yeah. So it's been really interesting. The work day to day has been incredibly varied. I'm finding it really rewarding working for a building and an institution that I already care so much about. So it means that the work... The hours tick by faster because I have an invested interest in what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So that's really nice. It's balancing pretty well with the choral scholarship and nipping off to do singers. And I'm also doing The Grand Duke, which is a Gilbert and Sullivan show. I'm doing as a favour because they needed a tenor who can sing tenor, and they needed a male. And I am one of those. Who could actually just sing quite confidently and strongly to kind of spur on all the other 60 plus.
Oh, so you're in the chorus, are you?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And the show is next week.
Oh, right. I assumed you meant the end of year show. Like the big one. Oh, wow. Okay, that's
no. So this is with the St David's Players, which is a Gilbert and Sullivan group that has absolutely nothing to do with the university at all. It's a Exeter, Devon-based company. So I'm doing that. So that's next week, which is going to be hilarious. I'm also going down to Truro on Sunday.
Oh.
Because Exeter Cathedral Choir are going to pay a visit to Truro Cathedral Choir, much like they did earlier this year. They came up and saw us. So we're now returning the favour, and we're doing a combined evensong service. The canticles are Howl St Paul's, which is going to be ludicrously loud.
Yes.
The combined might of two already loud cathedral choirs and the Father Willis organ in Truro Cathedral, which has an acoustic, unlike Exeter, which doesn't really.
Which doesn't have an acoustic, no.
So that's going to be fun. It means I'm going to go and see. We've mentioned Ed Dunn on the podcast before. He is, of course, a choral scholar now at Truro Cathedral. So it'd be lovely seeing him, and I think the choral scholars are going to stay at the Truro Choral Scholars flat on that Sunday night. So that evening should be suitably fun, and then I'm getting a lift back up to Exeter the following morning so I can be in work at 9 a.m.
So things are going well. You're keeping yourself busy, off the streets.
Very busy.
You're doing good. Which means that we definitely have time now. Because the start of any new job, and especially the start of the academic year as well, is super busy. I'm hoping that things are going to quieten down and we can get back into a more regular schedule. Because
me too.
Admittedly, this episode hasn't inspired much confidence because we've had nothing to talk about in the article apart from a couple of bits of biology that we've learned. But it'll get better from here, I'm sure. I swear we say that every episode.
Speaking of biology, you've just made me think. When you're having to classify an organism, did you have a mnemonic to remember the order of classification?
Yes, I did, and I'm going to have to remind myself.
Well, I'm going to tell you what mine is, and I want to see if it's the same one as yours.
Okay, yeah.
Kings play chess on funny green squares.
Oh, okay. No, I knew Katy Perry comes over for grape soda. Or no, that's it. I just googled it because I've heard that one. The other one is that XKCD, the amazing comic, did a collection of science mnemonics. So for taxonomy, which is what it technically is, the XKCD one is Katy Perry claims orgasms feel good sometimes. Which
they are.
Not going to forget that one in a hurry.
Well, no. Quite.
And the new planets one, not accounting for Neptune, sorry, not accounting for Pluto even, I just read the word Neptune. Neptune is definitely still a planet, is...
It's also a gas giant.
It's technically an ice giant, rather than a gas giant. That
was a Hat Films reference, Simon, but yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, sure, sorry, I don't know them very well.
Sure. No, that's fine.
The mnemonic for that is Mary's virgin explanation made Joseph suspect upstairs neighbour.
That's quite good.
I like that. I mean, I was taught many Victorians eat marmalade jam smothered under new potatoes. Obviously, without Pluto,
I remember
it doesn't make sense. Which obviously made so much sense before.
When I remember talking to my parents about this, and they said, and my teacher, at whatever age I was, would have said, and it might help if you write your own mnemonic and you can remember it that way. And Dad spent about an hour coming up with all these different ones that were really very funny. And after 20 minutes, I remember turning to him, having stayed silent for a while, and just went, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. And he went, oh. And still did it for his own benefit. But yeah, I've never...
Yeah, my dad's the kind of... I think our dads are quite similar in that sense, and that my dad will literally do that kind of stuff just for his own amusement. Like, it might start out that he's meant to be helping you, but it just turns out, he just likes doing it on his own.
Mm.
Yeah, bless him. Yeah. So, so you wouldn't have actually heard this. There was another bit of news that I should probably relay. Well, the other piece of news for the community, there's two bits of news that I should probably go through, notices, as it were. First of all, there's a video which I'll link in the description to this, to the show notes, that I did with Hat Films recently, which has finally come out after like a year of planning, and we filmed it quite a while ago now, like a couple of weeks ago, where we made some crisps.
You can tell because of the weather.
Yes. It was very hot, which was fortunate because we were making crisps out of human sweat, which is one of those videos where if I was to do it properly, it would take... I mean, I could have designed this and done it much more rigorously, but it's for Hat Films. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be perfect. Humans taste surprisingly good was the... verdict of that. In a blind taste test, most people at the Oxcast that we sampled preferred a human flavour to the control of just normal ready salted crisps, which was immensely worrying. But it's a good video.
Well, yeah, slightly.
Craig did a very good job on the edit, so that was good. So there's that. The second thing is we now have a community Minecraft server. If you people who are listening are not aware, by the time this episode comes out, it'll be available to everyone. I did a stream this past weekend building the what's it called? The spawn area, like the spawning zone, which is mod protected, so you can't get griefed or anything like that. And we built a Large Hadron Collider, which was square because it's Minecraft rather than a circle. And it's minecart zipping around a tube on powered rails, which was really, really fun. It was a really, really fun build to do. So if people want to play Minecraft with other people in the community, then pop on the Discord. There'll be a link to that in the show notes as well, and hop in. I'm going to be hopping in from time to time, and I think I'll be doing some streaming from it on Sundays now. And what I'm really excited, Dan, the reason I bring it up is because I've always wanted to host a Hunger Games tournament in Minecraft, and imagining me and you as being like Caesar Flickerman and Toby Jones's character, in that we will cast the Hunger Games on my Twitch, and we'll just be there watching the carnage unfold. It's that just makes me incredibly happy that we're going to be watching and rooting for people. And then the other thing, which is news to you, Dan, and will be to the audience unless you watched my stream the other day, is that I'm going to be going to Korea for nearly a week next month. I got contacted by the Renewable Energy Network, who I did some stuff with in Berlin before. And basically there is a conference happening in Seoul, co-hosted by the City of Seoul's government and the government of South Korea, about renewable energy. And how interestingly, South Korea, despite the fact that it's an incredibly technologically advanced nation and is it's so integrated into society, it's really lagging behind on renewable energy. And this, I think, there's some really interesting content to be made going out there and looking at why that is, what the future holds for Asia and renewable energy in general. Because at the end of the day, this is the Asian century, and if you're going to be if you're looking for meaningful action on climate change, it has to include action from Asia. So yeah, I am very aware, because I'm sure listeners are probably going to be scoffing at the idea of me taking a massively carbon intensive flight to the other side of the world to make some videos about climate change. My justification for this is that I think the net result of me going there is going to be lower carbon it's going to be net negative, if that makes sense. I will hopefully, by the videos I make, inspire change on an individual or government level that will lower carbon. I have, however, recently been turning down offers. I actually turned down an offer to do some filming in Canada, which was, they wanted me to fly out to do 1 day of filming, and then they were going to fly me back to talk about climate change. And I was like, no. That would be incredibly hypocritical of me. So
what a cool opportunity, though.
Yeah, and it is, and that's the frustrating thing. But at the end of the day, it would be really good for my career, because it was for a major TV network. It would be a fantastic career move. But if I'm going to be talking about the individual action necessary to combat anthropogenic climate change, I have to practice what I preach. So I have to every single time now make the decision about, particularly with flying, because that's like a discrete activity that, when you do it, it definitely has a big impact. It's not like a more pervasive kind of, individual day-by-day change. But, so I had to be conscious of it. So I didn't go to Canada. I actually kind of shot down. Pixel Girl wanted us to go on holiday somewhere in Europe in half term, which was partly, I was like, we have just literally yesterday had a conversation about how we should probably be saving some money, but also, like, from a carbon perspective, to go for like 2 days and take a flight to the other side of Europe is, it sucks, because I'd rather do that. Don't get me wrong, I would much rather do that, but I've got to be aware of the impact I'm having. So if anybody in the community is from Seoul or knows anything about the city and what I should go and do, do let us know. Send us an email at spongyelectric@gmail.com, and we will be going through those in the following episode, which will be next week. Although because my mum's my mum, she asked a friend of hers for advice to go and what to do in Seoul, and the friend that she asked turned out to be Paul Potts.
All right, of course.
Because, opera, everyone knows each other. And he had some very nice recommendations, but it was just getting this email from her. It was like, oh, yeah, this is what Paul Potts said, because apparently he spends a lot of time out there. But for those of you who don't know, he went, was it Britain's Got Talent that he went on?
It was, I don't think it was X Factor, was it?
Yeah, I think it was Britain's Got Talent. And he was this opera star who kind of used to work he worked at the time in Carphone Warehouse. And then he went on and just like smashed it, really. And now he tours around the world and has apparently a really keen interest in photography, according to my mum. But there you go.
As one does.
So yeah, sorry, that's sort of the update section. That's us catching up and all the interesting things that are going on. I believe, Dan, that leads us up to what have you been singing recently, and what is your choral piece of the week?
And this will be my piece of the week. Drum roll, please. Well, Simon, I'm so glad you've asked, because not only do I obviously adore my moment to talk about my choral piece of the week, but I can both simultaneously talk about that and plug my choir at the same time, because what I've been listening to a lot recently is Eric Eschenwald's Merton College service, which is a set of canticles read after the first reading from the Old Testament, the second reading from the New Testament of the Magnificat Nunc Dimittis. It's an a cappella set of canticles set to Latin text rather than English, which is slightly more common, certainly in the Anglican scene anyway. And it's really, really typical Eschenwald's in its writing. You hear it and you kind of identify it to, certainly, if not him, some kind of Scandinavian composer or something of that ilk. But it's really, really cool. And I've been listening to that because Exeter University singers in late October, I think, are singing a service at Exeter Cathedral for the installation of 2 new archdeacons, which is a very exciting service because it means that the entire College of Canons are going to be present. The bishop is going to be present. We'll have these new archdeacons, and it's going to be quite a big service. So it's wonderful for the choir to be given the opportunity to sing it. And it should hopefully mean quite a lot of kind of publicity will go our way, having sung it. So Eschenwalds, Merton College Service, Magnificat Nunc Dimittis. We're splitting the conducting between the two conductors. That's myself and Matt. So Matt is conducting the mag. I'm conducting the nunc. Matt's conducting the anthem, which is Elgar's "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me," which is an excellent thing, for a ordination of these archdeacons. And then we're doing the Rose responses and Psalm 99.
So there's a link to the piece of the week in iTunes, so it's Apple Music, and also on Spotify. If you check the description, the show notes for that, because it's got quite a few things in there now. I think in some weeks we've cheated and like added a bunch of stuff rather than like a single piece. But yes, that's and tell you what, actually, if you, I'll give an extra recommendation here, which isn't a particular piece, but it's an album. The album 40, as in 40 by the 16, which is I can only assume their 40-year anniversary, and it's basically sort of a greatest hits of English choral music. So if you'd like the stuff that we recommend, and you'd like kind of like a cheese board, if you like, of Anglican music, a smorgasbord, then I'll include a link to that in the show notes as well. So that's 40 by the 16, which will be on all streaming platforms, I'm sure. But anyway, we must go onwards. And I'd just like to, before we go to the essential Patreon corner, Dan, I'm going to repeat what we said last episode, and unfortunately got cut because but I'd just like to highlight the fact that we have had a cracking review on iTunes. So people, if you are listening to the show on iTunes, you can leave us a review saying how frequently we release an episode, perhaps. We are on 4.8 stars after 85 ratings, so people apparently like this nonsense for some reason. And a whole bunch of reviews, and there was just one that I just wanted to highlight to give you an idea of what other people are saying. 88 Leaps username has left this in earlier this month, saying, if Harry and Hermione had a podcast, which I think is basically the most accurate way you could describe this. It's basically us in a nutshell. And they say, if you answer yes to any of the following, this podcast is for you. If you like smiling and laughing. If you don't enjoy doing so in public, don't listen to this on your commute. If you think that Wikipedia is to be trusted and a useful source for education. And C, if you don't mind being called a reader despite this being a podcast. So, if you think you can write a better review than that, and they do go on to say some very lovely things about how I found this podcast last month, and I've never enjoyed a podcast more. It's two educated and funny blokes chatting, only occasionally while drunk. How much have you had to drink tonight, Dan? Well,
it's a Monday, so no, I think I've had 3 pints, which is just a nice amount to, just take the weight off the working day. I'm going to slip into my slippers. I'm going to slippers into my slippers shortly. And I think I'm thinking about sausage and mash for dinner.
Good Lord.
Which is a good kind of post 3 pint meal.
Sausage and mash and bevs is a lovely dinner.
Oh, also, they're not just any sausages, Simon.
Oh, tell me about it, Dan.
They're from the meat counter at Waitrose.
Oh.
Right. And they are Gloucester Old Spot sows bred with wild boar.
Wait, so they did like a breeding experiment, an interspecies breeding experiment, so that you could have this particular sausage.
Well, it's not. I don't think it's strictly interspecies because pigs and boars are so close.
Well,
it's basically taking a pack of civilized inner city lady pigs.
Are you sure you want to go down this route?
And introducing them to a slightly more rugged kind of
farmhand pigs.
country bumpkin. Yeah,
it's like that.
Anyway, they're absolutely divine.
That horse-related fan fiction that we wrote with Tom Zalatni in the guest episode, and it was like,
oh my gosh, yeah,
it's like that but with pigs, and that's what you're eating for dinner. Anyway, the whole point of this was to write a review of us on Amazon. Sorry, for God's sake, Simon, great, you're doing so well. Write us a review on iTunes if you enjoy the podcast, and let us know what you think, and perhaps we can read some out if we particularly like them. But yes, if you enjoy the podcast, leave us a review because it helps out the show. Saying how we definitely don't go on tangents and we definitely release episodes regularly. Anyway, now it's time to thank people who allow us to do this and inflict all this on you. Top lad!
It strikes me, Simon, that some people might not know what Patreon is.
Ha! What? No, surely not.
That was really good.
I mean, goodness me, Dan. How could anyone not know what patreon.com/the Wikicast is?
I don't know, but you know what? For their benefit, Simon, I think I'm going to explain what Patreon is.
Okay, jolly good.
This podcast would not be possible were it not for the indispensable aid of our patrons. Now, Patreon is a website not only with an absolutely brilliant, clear, and not at all awful user interface, but it facilitates a dear reader like yourself, perhaps you've been listening for a while, perhaps you're new to the podcast, allows you to donate a little bit of your hard-earned pennies to support two people who live in quite different parts of the UK to call each other once a week
to come together
and ramble about lots of careful.
We've left that period of our history in the podcast behind us.
Yes, you can donate to the podcast. There was also I want Adam to replay the last 5 seconds of my audio and really isolate in slow motion my spectacular voice break there on donate, because it was really very good.
Yeah, it's rewind time.
You can donate to the podcast. And the only reason I say that is because I know Simon, and we've lived with each other for long enough that if I don't make a note of it, Simon will stop me and he will point it out.
Right. Wait. Hold up. Let's cycle back to that really embarrassing thing you just did. Yes, precisely that.
Yes. You can donate. You can donate $1 a month. You could, if you're feeling incredibly giving, you could donate $5 a month, and in so doing, support this thing that we do on, I'm going to say, a regular basis.
It's meant to be a regular basis, yes.
We do on an irregular basis.
Not for lack of trying.
Quite.
Oh, God, this podcast frustrates me so much because I want it to be weekly and life conspires against us so frequently. But you might well think, who on earth would be mad enough to support a podcast that does upload so irregularly? And I'll tell you who, Dan. I'll tell you who, readers at home. Choco Cat, Cole Mansfield, Dan Hanvey, Hans J, Isabella Strowski, John Maniam, Layla Medina, Lewis Watson, Oliver Burkhart, Oliver Craigie, Omar Miranda, Princess Andromeda, Rents Cook, River Ward, The Chosen One, and William Humphreys. That's who supports this show, and they, in addition, think that cats are better than dogs, so therefore they're the best people.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because I've actually got some of my own folk who are not deluded and give a toss about the truth, and therefore adore dogs as I do. And those people are Ben McMurtry, Colin J. Brown, Eric Shun, Eric Bolliger, and here we go, Jackson Deborkiskovsky, I'm so sorry, Jackson D, Kodzo, Carl Much, Lucas Shulman, Maggie, Nina Colton, and Peter Reed. And if those people weren't nice enough, we also have a wonderful those were our top dogs. We now have our team dogs, the masses, the wonderful masses. And I would like to say a enormous thank you to Samantha Pavao.
Oh.
Pavao? Samantha, if you're listening, email me and tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how badly I pronounced your last name.
Let us know. I'm going to go for Ruta, thank you very much. Who is a Team Cat patron? You literally
doesn't that person provide your Wi-Fi?
Yes. Oh my God, they're downstairs. I can't wait to meet them. Hang on. Well, I just had an awkward conversation with an inanimate object.
Well.
Oh, God, thanks for that, Dan. Yes, well, thank you very much to everyone who supports the show on Patreon. You keep us on the air, you support Wikimedia, and you enable us to actually, talk to each other on a weekly basis with some vague purpose to it. So thank you very much for that. Top lad. So we find ourselves in Correspondence Corner, readers at home, and obviously we're now in the position where we did respond to a lot of these emails last episode. You just never heard it. I can't really remember which ones we looked at, Dan. I'll be completely honest with you.
Nope, nor can I.
And a lot of them are, I mean, this is an absolute disaster. Oh, God, I've been spending too much time with Lewis. This is a disaster. Right, well, we did have one based on the last episode, the last released episode, Dan, from Fergus Hall. I'll read this out if you'd just like to download the attachment. Dear Messrs. Clark and Moore, long-time reader here. Glad to have you back after the summer hiatus. I am a musician living in Glasgow. I often, interesting, listen to podcasts when practicing the piano to help pass the hours. When Dad... Whoops, Freudian slip.
Oh, what would Freud say?
When Dan started singing in the last episode, I therefore couldn't help joining in. Sorry if this is sacrilegious, but I love these kinds of modal melodies. Sorry for the janky recording. When talking about that music, Dan mentioned that the notation meant that the choir had to sing intuitively together. Have either of you ever come across Gaelic psalm singing? This is a practice of singing worship from places in the Outer Hebrides in Scotland. The leader sings the phrase and the congregation responds, but all will embellish and decorate the melody at will. A congregational improvisation. I've never heard of that before. Wow,
I've never heard that either.
Let's have a quick listen to what he's done for you.
So is this the SoundCloud link or the recording?
The recording, the M4A link.
Right, okay, let's have a listen to that.
Have a listen to this, here we go.
So it'll be something like... It's got this flowing kind of. Ooh, that's cool, isn't it?
It's very crunchy. Really cool. I like that a lot.
I feel like we need to include this clip in the actual episode because it's really very cool.
Well, I think they just listened to it, Daniel. Though that's how good Adam is. And as a matter of fact, actually, this is I haven't told Adam this. And incidentally, Adam came to my house the other week because he helped me build my new computer, which is why I said I had to sit down earlier because I now have a standing desk. Anyway, Pixel Girl listened to the last episode and was like, did Dan go to a church to record himself singing and put it in the episode? And so it's like, no, that's Adam just put a reverb effect on it. But it sounded so good, Adam, that Pixel Girl thought that Dan had literally taken some effort and went to record it separately, which I think was her key mistake in assuming that Dan would put in additional effort to go on the Wikicast, because I certainly don't. But there we go. So yeah, thank you for that, Fergus. That's it. And hang on, I am just now going to quickly listen to this congregational improv as well, because that's a really interesting idea.
It feels like when you go swimming in open water and the swell is quite strong, and you bring your hands to your chest.
It's like a wall
and
of
your
sound.
Knees up, and you wrap your arms around them, and you float as a ball, and you're tossed in the waves. That's what it feels like. You're just hit by these various that's really cool. I've never heard of that. Amazing. We have an email here from Mandalore1. The email is titled Correspondence Corner, Big Things Near Me.
Oh, so this is in reference to the episode we did on Patrick's Hole, right? St. Patrick's Hole.
Oh, of course.
It's like, we're asking people to email in with big things that are known locally very famously, but might not be known more widely.
Here we are. So Mandalore goes on to say, Dear Messrs. Clark and Moore, listening to your latest episode, I heard the call go out for big things near me that people in other countries might not be aware of, and I was struck by two thoughts. The first, he says, is me, i.e., and then he's drawn what I think is a penis, involving the number 3, a lot of equal signs and a capital D. They go on to say, it was the obvious first call, note not to scale unless viewed on -1 to 12 magnification. Well, thank you for clarifying, Mandalore. Secondly, they say, the Australian obsession with big things, e.g. the big banana, not this time, chaps, the big pineapple, the big merino, etc., mayhaps Dan knows of these things. It's not really. If not, it really demonstrates the woeful quality of education in Melbourne. Mandalore, I do know these things. There is a weird Australian obsession with doing big things as sightseeing. You go to somewhere and someone's done a sculpture of an overly large banana.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's an institution.
It's a bit like how people
so I do know.
In America go to like the world's largest ball of twine or the world's largest barn or something. Yeah. But so in Australia, it's not the biggest. I think it's just the big one.
Australian media is so heavily shaped by American media. There's no wonder that they have this weird, we can kind of do that too. They go on to say, fondest regards, Tristan, aged 24.0493, brackets, heresy.
Decimal heresy. Never have I seen the like. Gosh.
They also say
memes.
PS.
Yeah.
Requisite meme tribute. Dan, maybe explain the beer and chips one or refer to Compa Global Hypermagnet Australia and New Zealand for information on Tobias as a meme. And PPS, given all Simon's TNG watching, I wanted to recommend the Greatest Generation podcast. I started watching TNG in March and listened to the podcast which reviews the episodes comedically alongside. They address the listeners' viewers while doing data work for my thesis. Worst productivity ever. Also began recording the ratings I gave episodes alongside their IMDb scores for the first time. For first-time series analysis in Starter, when series is completed. Nerd. Anyway, there are 2 memes attached here.
So can you? I'll tell you what. I'm going to look at the Australian one first. So, the Tobias was the kid in the episode where the Simpsons go to Australia and he racks up like a $500 phone bill because Bart Crank called the kid. And Tobias had his head put over Mr. Burns when he's the radioactive alien, with a can of 4X Gold and some Smith's salt and vinegar in his hands, saying, "Hello, I bring you piss and vinegar." Can you shed any light on the cultural significance of this, Dan?
I'm just reading through. I mean, again, it's been an awful long time since I was in. I need to refer to
Compu Global Hypermagnet.
Compu Global Hypermag. Yeah,
that's the name of Homer's internet company that he creates.
Oh right. Look, I don't know. I know that. I recognise that. I recognise that Smith's packet from that. That brings back horrific memories. I don't think I ever had XXX Gold in Australia though. We always ripped the living daylight out of VB beer, which is Victoria Bitter, which is the state that Melbourne's in, and that's pretty dreadful. But I feel I'm missing something there, so I apologise, Mandalore. I'm failing massively. However, I do like the one about France. That's funny.
That's a good meme. That's a good meme.
If you've got memes, folk, send them our way.
And the other thing we should say is, if you do have a confession for Confession Corner, because we didn't have anything, I think we may have spunked the one we had in the episode that we recorded and then I lost the file for. So if anyone would like to send us a confession, we do anonymise anything that's sent with Confession Corner in the subject line. Then everyone gets an absolution in County Pedantry, Dubai. So do send those in. I think should we call it there, Dan? Because it's actually getting very late. You need to eat, and I actually need to do a little bit more video editing today. But I think
that's wise.
That's been considering we had naff all in the article to talk about. I think that's done pretty well, actually.
I think so too.
Let me just get the script out so I can remember what I'm supposed to say now. Then, so Dan, what have we learned today?
Today, Simon, we learnt about the white-spotted toadfish, which is to say we didn't learn anything at all because the Wikipedia article is such a colossal waste of time. It is a species of fish, and it's endemic to a place. Thanks, Wikipedia.
The bare necessities, quite literally. And then we talked about what we've been up to, just generally, talking about the cathedral, talking about Minecraft stuff. If you'd like to play Minecraft, then do pop on the Discord and we can sort you out with that.
We also had a chat about, golly, what was it? I had it on the tip of my tongue then, and now I've said it, and I can't remember what it was. No.
We're back, everyone.
Send help.
Quality entertainment.
The thing that's really causing me distress is that I know what I wanted to talk about. I know what I was going to say, and then I forgot. And the reason I forgot was I didn't take time to mention I made a new purchase this week, Simon, and it's changed my life.
Oh, what is it?
I went on to marksandspencers.com, which is a UK institution.
It is,
of a supermarket, which does wonderful food, but also some really excellent clothes as well. Anyway, I've discovered the embarrassing joy of moleskin trousers.
Oh boy, okay. This is the part of the episode where we're wrapping
Lord.
up. You can't just drop a big topic like that in the middle of literally the summary.
We are going to talk about it next week.
Yes. Okay.
But if anyone, the readers, now I want you to do a bit of homework. I want you to find your web browser of choice and your search engine of choice, and I want you to pop in moleskin trousers, MOLESKIN trousers, and I want you to do a little bit of research, and then next week, much like a university seminar, we're going to have a discussion, and I can't even. They're just wonderful.
Well, you got that to look forward to next week. That's all for this week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice. You can leave us a review if you like on iTunes as well. You can like us on Facebook if you're over 40. And if you'd like to see our faces, check out our YouTube channel, Spongy and Electric.
Confession emails, meme creations, and other thoughts on the show can be sent to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole.
And we'll see you next time.
Oh, thank God I was recording. I had visions of losing that whole episode again.